Hello there everybody, how's it going? I'm the Timeister and welcome back to Timbukton in episode 35 of the series. In today's episode, guys, as you can see on your screen right now, we're going to be starting to work on Uptown. Uptown is a pretty unique part of Timbukton as it's a pretty mixed area in terms of like commercial and residential, and even with just residential, it's a pretty mixed area as we have low, medium, and high-rise residential all sort of intertwined in this area, as you're going to see as the episode develops. And in terms of commercial, there's not going to be a whole lot going on in terms of like huge buildings and stuff. I think we covered that pretty in depth with the downtown episode. But for Uptown, the commercial side will pretty much host some smaller businesses like little restaurants and things like that. And much of this area will be mostly residential sections, and a lot of those residential sections will be housed by university students and people working downtown. So it's going to be a quite dense area. So you're going to see a lot of public housing, a lot of huge apartment buildings and things like that, smaller apartment buildings, both old and new. So I tried to keep the area interesting by having a healthy mixture of all those different types of aspects. So I'm actually super excited to show you guys this episode. I had a ton of fun developing this area, and it allowed me to use a whole bunch of new buildings and stuff that I just recently downloaded on the workshop. And the quality and detail of some of these assets that are just coming out recently are really great. So I'm going to be showcasing a lot of that in this episode. So other than that, that was basically just a little rundown of what's going to happen. But we have a lot to talk about in this episode. And we have a small problem. So in the last episode, I wanted to involve you guys in the construction of Timbukton. So I decided to make a little contest on what we're going to be doing with a particular lot right downtown. So at the time, I expected to maybe get like 10 submissions max with suggestions on what we should build in downtown. I ended up with like 20 some submissions, which is crazy. So first of all, thank you guys so much for submitting any submissions and going into detail and putting so much effort into your submission. I'm really impressed. But obviously that creates a little bit of a problem, because there's no way for me to do like 25 choices in a YouTube poll. I'm not even sure what the limit is, but even if I could, 20 something choices a little bit too much. It would make it too hard to decipher an actual winner. So what I decided to do is I went through the entire list, and most of your submissions were really great. But I chose the top 10 that I thought would fit best in downtown Timbukton. So I'm sorry for you guys who didn't quite make the cut, but I'm going to be making these types of polls and stuff in the future. So don't stop, leaving your submissions and stuff like that, because you might just get chosen in the next round. And I might actually take some of your ideas to even if somebody said a really cool idea or something, I might just implement it in Timbukton anyways. I can see a few here in my comment list that I really like, and I think it would be a cool addition to the city. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to list the top 10 comments or submissions that I like the most and I think that would fit better in Timbukton, and I'm going to put that in a poll. So I'm gonna let you guys choose which is your favorite. And obviously, like, if you've left a submission in the last video, just go ahead and vote for yourself. I'm totally fine with that. So first up, the first choice in the list is going to go to Nicholas Donnellan. Now, Nicholas, what he proposed we should build in downtown is, he is, first of all, the CEO of Brighton Pharmaceuticals. And he says that the company specializes in medical research and treatment and is known for drugs that can halt or cure a lot of cancers. So they're based in the UK and looking to expand in the US. Alright, so submission number 2 goes to Isaiah Bryant, and he is part of the City Parks Commission of Timbukton, and he would like to construct a sort of green space or like a public outdoor plaza where the empty lot is. And I actually like this idea because Timbukton doesn't necessarily have the greenest downtown. It's almost like a concrete jungle. There's a few trees here and there, but it's very artificial kind of space. So he would like to liven it up and to make it a little bit more organic by building a nice little plaza square. Submission number 3, we have Some Daywid Guy. He would like to, first of all, he is the CEO of the Timbukton Banking and Trade Corporation, and his goal is to increase the economic output from Timbukton, and he would like to construct a new headquarters in downtown. After that, we have Emile Guimade. I'm really sorry, guys, if I butcher your names. Like, you guys are from all over and different ethnic backgrounds and stuff, so I'm really, forgive me for that. But Emil is the CEO of Swed Shipping. It's a Swedish shipping company founded in the 1920s, and they're looking to expand into North America, just like the Brighton Pharmaceuticals. And they're looking to establish some trade routes between Europe and North America through Timbukton. And by doing this, they're going to, or they would like to, set up a new headquarters in Timbukton. After that, we have Gramey Cote. He is the president and CEO of the TMHS, the Timbukton Metropolitan Health Service, and he would like to construct a new corporate office in downtown Timbukton to house basically the administration offices for all the surrounding hospitals around Timbukton, which are owned by the TMHS. So I kind of like this this idea because, it sort of gives a little bit of backstory to the city, and it's kind of cool that you guys are sort of aware of how the city has developed. So, a couple of episodes ago, we just built a huge medical center, and, we can perfectly fit that medical center into the TMHS. So thank you for that submission. Next up, we have Bixel Coven. So he goes on to explain he is the owner of Timber Team, and what they are, they're basically like a sort of tree plantation business, and they look to sort of repair all the ecological damage humanity has done to the environment, and they do that by planting trees everywhere in the region. So basically, they would like to establish some new offices downtown to run their organization. So we're giving a little bit of competition to Isaiah with that green space sort of thing. So Bixel Coven is not really looking to build a green space. However, he's looking to expand some corporate offices in order to build some more green spaces around town. Next up, we have Juan Samuel. He is the CEO of Radio Timbukton, and actually this is one of my favorite submissions because he actually included a Radio Timbukton logo in his comment, so that is actually really cool. Regardless if he wins or not, I'm going to be implementing this in the city. I know just the place. So he goes on to say he is the CEO of Radio Timbukton. It's a radio station that was founded back in the 80s, and it's expanded over the years, and they're looking to establish a new headquarters for the company. Next off, we have Rockin' Randy, and this is actually one of my favorite submissions as well. He is the CEO of Timbukton Tires. So it's a tire company founded in 1978, and they grew from being a little mom and pop shop kind of garage into a chain with over 500 stores across the country, and they're looking to build a new headquarters in downtown Timbukton. Then for submission number 9, we have Denis Duchesne, who is the CEO of High Tech Software Solutions, and with the, well, not the construction of, but the presence of the university right next to downtown Timbukton. Timbukton has an abundance of specialized IT people who are looking for jobs and looking for to build their careers. And Denis wants to set up a new IT headquarters or a new corporate office in downtown Timbukton to make use of the amount of IT graduates from the university. And last but not least, we have Dejan Brown. Now, I gotta give it up to this guy because the amount of detail and effort that has gone into his comment is absolutely astounding. Yeah, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'll let you guys go through it because there's a ton of stuff in it. But thank you, Dejan, for providing so much detail, and he's actually provided a little bit of a backstory into how things are going with his corporation. So it's pretty cool. So he's even gone as far as creating a little character for himself. So his name is Tony Esterman, and he's the CEO of Esterman Holdings and Finance, a large banking corporation, and he's looking to expand his corporate offices into Timbukton. And he goes into detail on the architecture of the building and how the building should be implemented into downtown Timbukton. So he goes on to explain how the downtown Timbukton was mostly developed in the 60s and 70s, so the buildings are a very old architecture, and he's looking to liven up the downtown by creating a large mixed-use skyscraper. And it's actually pretty impressive, the amount of explanation and stuff that's in his comment. So that is it, guys. Those are my top 10 submissions. But like I said, if you have not made the cut in this submission round, don't give up, guys. Leave your submissions in any future polls that I'm going to do for sure, because I think you guys sort of like this idea. So you may run the chance of winning one of the next submission rounds. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to put up a poll on this video, and I want you guys to choose which submission you like the best. And even if you want to vote for yourself, if you submitted and you want to vote, go ahead and vote for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. So by now you guys have probably noticed that, like I said at the start of this video, Uptown is a lot more dense than, like, let's say the Burton suburbs, obviously, but I've also been making use of a lot of newer assets in things on the workshop. So I think that it makes the area look a lot more realistic and dynamic. Because if you compare the assets that are available right now to, like 2 or 3 years ago, like the amount of detail that people are putting into their buildings and stuff now is astounding. So like the lower to mid-rise apartment buildings that are available in the workshop are really great, and I've been implementing them into Uptown Timbukton and a little bit of downtown as well. I've been plopping them all over the city so far, but a lot of newer buildings, I've used them for the first time in Uptown. So far things are developing really great with Uptown, and I've actually gone and booted up SimCity 4 and just I've taken a peek in Rockport, which if you guys don't know, that was like the original Timbukton, let's say. So that was back in my SimCity 4 days, and I've actually built a city on an identical map of Timbukton. And I was just sort of looking for some inspiration on how I should develop Uptown. I was looking to build something comparable to Rockport, and Uptown Timbukton is definitely a little bit different compared to Rockport. I think that there's a little bit less commercial and stuff compared to the city I had built in SimCity 4, and I think I had like a lot more assets or a lot more like customized building and stuff in SimCity 4 back then, because the game had been out for like 10 years at that point, so there was a ton of stuff on Simtropolis. I haven't been there in a long time. So as you can tell, I'm building a supermarket right now, or just a little grocery store, and I'm just having some fun with different props and things that I'm plopping down. And I end up destroying part of the parking lot a little bit later on. I just came to realize that the parking lot was a little bit too big for the size of the store. And usually when you're so close to downtown, you don't always have like huge lots of land where you can just build like a Walmart or something like that. So I thought it was a little bit more fitting to have like a little crammed in sort of supermarket. So with the couple of minutes that we have left in this episode, let's talk about what's going to happen in the next episode. I've already started to reconfigure some streets and one major highway that leads almost right into downtown. I'm going to reorganize that whole part of town just north of the large citadel that we had built like 3 or 4 episodes ago now. So we're going to start to develop that area. It's going to be very similar to Uptown in terms of density and like the mixture of buildings and stuff that we're going to find. However, that area will host a huge shopping center. So there's lots in store for the next episode. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. So the episode's going to start off first by reconfiguring the roads and getting everything ready for the shopping center. And then we're going to actually get into constructing the shopping center along with all the residential areas around it. So like I was saying earlier, things are really starting to get interesting now, and I'm super excited to finish next episode because from what I envision, the Timbukton Peninsula is really going to start to take shape and to be developed to a point where I can make some pretty awesome cinematics without having like these huge blank areas and stuff in the background. And we're going to be able to zoom out, and it's going to start to look like a proper city. And as we expand further and further out, we're going to get into some different environments. We're going to get into some more suburban areas where there's a lot more newer developments, and obviously there's going to be a lot more space to build things. So you're going to find things like big shopping centers and Walmarts and Home Depots and all your big block chain stores and stuff. So there's lots of interesting stuff in store. So you guys just have to stay tuned for what's to come. terms of detail, I don't go quite as deep into detail compared to downtown or some other areas around the city. However, I do take some time to plot down some fences and some little minute details just to fill in any blank spaces that I might find. And a lot of trees and stuff too. With this being an older part of the city, older houses and older buildings and stuff, obviously like these types of areas typically have like mature trees and stuff. So I take the time to definitely fill in some voids with a lot of big trees. So like I said, like in terms of details, I don't go too deeply into things like that. But if we get into like parking spaces and stuff, I'll try to make everything sort of make sense. So I'm not gonna plop like a big apartment building and not have any parking, unless, a lot of buildings obviously have underground parking, but that's not the case for all of apartment buildings. And one thing I might add is, with this episode being so long, I find 30 minutes is quite long now. I end up doing a lot of detailing and stuff off camera, and I just want you guys to see the general development of this entire area. So I don't want to bore you guys with plopping individual props and stuff. I don't think it's the time for that type of episode, but I do quite a bit of work off camera in this particular area. But you guys might notice a little difference in the cinematics at the end of this episode. In terms of like bushes and trees and stuff, I'm gonna showcase a little bit more of that. So guys, with all that being said, this is pretty much the end of this episode, but be sure to stay tuned for the cinematics right after this. So if you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel for much more content on the way. And be sure, guys, if you are interested in buying any Paradox Interactive product, check down in the description of this video, as I've provided a affiliate link. And also don't forget to cast your vote on what you would like to have developed in downtown Timbukton in the next episode. I forgot to go over that, but whatever wins in this episode will be built in the next episode. And probably in the next episode, I might do another poll if I think of an interesting topic that I could go over. So stay tuned for that. And until the next episode, guys, please take care.